Good afternoon, Don't Unfriend Me Nation. Matthew Spear from the Don't Unfriend Me Show. Big news. Whole bunch of stuff to talk about. First thing is Hunter Biden says no to a public hearing, even though that's what he wanted. Remember, he threw a tantrum and came into the anteroom chambers and said, I need to be heard. The public wants to hear from me. Well, of course, Daddy doesn't want that. We'll talk about it. Fani Willis and her secret lover. Fortunately, 6 charges were dropped from Donald Trump's Georgia case. We'll go over that. And last but not least, I don't know if you've heard about TikTok. It's a little thing. 150 million some odd Americans participate. I'm going to tell you why it's on the precipice of being banned and what does that mean for us. I'll be right back.
Do you want the truth? Are you tired of being so confused? You feel like you're more f***ed up than the lies on the evening news? Well, just step right in. We can talk about it all as friends. And if you want, we can hug and kiss and make up for the party ends.
Hey, that's Still Point. STIILPOINT, the Don't Unfriend Me band. You can find them on iTunes and everywhere else you would find music. Well, it was just a matter of time before the Georgia Fani Willis controversy came to light. We've been hearing all about it. How she had a secret lover who was a part of the prosecution team, which is a conflict of interest, whether you like it or not. We saw this with Strzok and Page from the FBI. I think everyone can tell you that you don't go ahead and sleep with a judge. You don't sleep with a court reporter. You don't sleep with the bailiff. And you certainly don't go ahead and have relationships with someone who's on the prosecutorial team and then expect for that to stand the test of scrutiny. And as we can see, those decisions, will she be disbarred? Will this throw out more things in the case? We'll find out. But as of right now, 6 charges are dropped. Now, the media, and I got to give MSNBC credit, to actually say 6. Everyone else, except for Fox, is saying 3 because this is what they do. They want to downplay this, and this is just a minor thing, but it's not. And listen to this video. It'll help you understand what's going on, and then I'll plug in too.
I want to go straight to Blaine Alexander now in Georgia with some breaking news. Blaine, we wanted to ask you about the election there in Georgia last night, but we just got a filing from the court there in Fulton County. What can you tell us?
Yeah, I've just obtained that filing. And basically what is happening is that Judge Scott McAfee is dismissing several of the charges here in Georgia against former President Donald Trump. 6 of the charges in this order. The charges so far, and I'm still making my way through the judge's ruling right now, but appear to do with solicitation of violation of oath by a public officer. Those were certainly some of the charges that he was facing. Other people that were named, of course, Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, Johnny Eastman, Mark Meadows.
So this not only applies to Donald Trump, but the other 16 people who are mentioned in this court case. And this is just the beginning. This is just the first level of this. And this was always going to be something where the interpretation from prosecution was going to be that Donald Trump was begging for votes and ordering a governor to go out and find votes no matter what it took in order for him to win the election, according to their narrative that Kemp was forced to. And then Donald Trump simply saying, listen, we're hearing election frauds coming out of Georgia. You need to go find those votes if that actually happened. And, you know, both you can decide whether that's right or wrong or indifferent, but the amount of scrutiny that this case has received has been washed over multiple times by multiple prosecution teams. Fani Willis took this forward. You remember, she went way ahead of the document scandal case. She went way ahead of the overall E. Jean Carroll case and tried to push this to the forefront. And Democrats kind of slapped her down and said, no, you can't do that. You need to stop. Your case isn't as strong as you think it is. Well, now we're finding out that it's falling completely apart. This isn't the first step. Now we got to find out if Fani is actually, she perjured herself and what will happen to her career. And I don't think really anybody cares because this whole process has been mishandled from start to finish. Listen to the rest.
And so this is certainly notable because the former president was facing a number of charges, but to have 6 of them removed is notable. Now, it's important to note he's still facing charges here in Georgia, still facing charges in Fulton County. We're also still waiting on a major decision from Judge Scott McAfee as to whether or not Fani Willis can continue to remain prosecutor on this case.
And it's likely that she won't. I mean, when you have charges that were brought up of this magnitude and they were dismissed with prejudice, it will show that maybe she isn't capable of doing this. She dropped the ball. This all adds into her choices of hiring and who she goes to bed with and not. This really stinks to high heaven. And a lot of people have been saying that since inception. So to see her removed or disbarred, I don't know about that. But to have her removed from this case, in all likelihood, it seems that that's where the judge is moving based upon this decision today.
This is not that decision. So to see this decision from the judge to come out this morning is a bit of a surprise. I've reached out to Trump's Georgia attorney here, Steve Sadow, who, of course, has been representing him as the lead attorney, to see if he has any comment. We've also reached out to the DA's office to see if they have any feedback or plan to push back on this ruling by the judge.
Well, you can push back all you want, but when you have a judge who dismisses charges, you can go ahead and appeal that decision. You can fight that decision, but the chances of you winning are few and far between. And the reason why is the judge has obviously made a decision based upon a lack of evidence, empirical evidence that is enough to go forward with what they're specifically saying Donald Trump and the 16 associates did. It's an interesting case. You need to keep watching. We're not done with it because we've got even more for you when we jump into the Hunter Biden case. Who cares? I mean, I am so done with this. Either throw the guy in prison or not, but this is what we know. None of this matters. Donald Trump's not going to go to jail. Hunter Biden's not going to jail. Biden's not going to jail. The older, more senile one, Hillary Clinton's not going to jail. We know this. The government doesn't hold themselves accountable. But Hunter Biden has reversed gears, and we know why, because his daddy is in 9 months of a general election that is going to be contentious, and anything he says can be used against his father. We know this because 63% of the electorate, those are the people who voted, said in 2020 if they knew about the Hunter Biden story, it would have or could have changed their mind and how they voted. So anything like this that comes to airs, people are going to feel slighted, and it can impact the vote. Joe Biden's having a hard enough time. So he has put the kibosh on his son. Listen to this, and then we'll go ahead and comment throughout.
Our colleague Sarah Fitzpatrick had obtained a letter from Hunter Biden attorney Abby Lowell sent to the House Oversight Committee, specifically to its Republican chairman James Comer, declining their invitation to appear for a public hearing on March 20th. Remember, this invitation came last week, not only to Hunter Biden, but also to several of his business associates, who many of whom testified behind the committee, behind closed doors. Before the committee, rather, Hunter Biden testified a week before that behind closed doors. And I want to read you some pieces of this letter as to why they're declining. His attorney says, in part, if you're...
And listen to this language, because some of this language is fairly sardonic, and it's not necessarily what you would expect from a lawyer trying to keep his client out of jail. It really gets into the political fray by casting rocks in glass houses. So take a listen to this.
Serious about pursuing this oversight purpose in a legitimate and bipartisan fashion, you would hold a hearing with relatives of former President Trump about whom you indicated you would ask. Abby Lowell continues to say, if you do, Mr. Hunter Biden would consider an invitation for that event. They also go on to disparage the committee's effort, to disparage Republicans' efforts, saying that it is their surprise for this hasty request, because they've realized that, of course, during their closed-door testimony, that the Republican inquiry is baseless, that they have not come up with any evidence linking the president to Hunter Biden, his son, or his brother, James.
Don't forget where they said it was a media stunt and called it a carnival sideshow. I always love the press, how they just leave things out, because anything they can do to make him seem more professional, even though he's not. Hunter Biden is just wagging, well, something other than what he usually wags at Republicans and saying, nana, nana, boo-boo, stick your head in doo-doo. See if you can come catch me. My daddy's the president. And this is getting tiresome. And all they're going to have to do is just at this point go ahead and hold him accountable for not actually showing up upon a request and a subpoena from the House Select Committee. That's really all they've got. Anything else, this is all just completely a moot point. This doesn't matter. Joe Biden is on the ticket. I told you Michelle Obama wasn't coming on. I told you Joe Biden wasn't going to jump off. I told you it wasn't going to be Newsom. It's going to be Trump. It's going to be Biden. And now the gloves come off, because now the Democrats get real scared. They don't know what to do. They've tried everything. They've tried P-tapes. They've tried spying. They've tried to throw him into court. They've tried to smear his name. They've tried to bankrupt him. They've tried to take his businesses away. They have done everything. And we all know the The one thing they haven't tried, and God forbid, I'm not going to say it, let's hope it doesn't go there. But when you call someone Hitler and you call him a Nazi and you think that he's going to go ahead and literally throw people in camps and start destroying with genocide generations of people based upon their disloyalty to him or the fact that they don't agree with his ideology, would you not do anything to stop that kind of person? Well, that's what they've done so far, and I don't expect them to put that back in the bottle or the proverbial caca back into the horse.
Biden or other close allies and family members' business ties overseas. I want to note, Anna, we have not yet heard from the House Oversight Committee responding to this declining of the invitation, but certainly this is notable that Hunter Biden has said he is not appearing before the House panel in their planned public testimony at the end of the month. That as Republicans are growing sour on this impeachment effort as well.
As they should, using impeachment as political wish-wash, it doesn't work. We know this. We started this with Clinton. We know what happened there. Clinton's approval ratings went up. When they went after Nixon, which was a legitimate reason, his approval ratings went up. When they went after Donald Trump, both times, his approval ratings went up. This is not helping the process. Let's hit Joe Biden on the things he needs to be hit on. We can deal with the rest of this stuff when he gets out. And I promise you this, the Republicans are going to move on just like Hillary Clinton. The only thing they want is Joe Biden out. They want his influence. They want his reputation destroyed. And it's the same thing the Democrats are doing. He does that all by himself. He can't put two sentences together. Is his family guilty of things? Absolutely. We know this. We know the things that they've done. We know the document scandal. We know the quid pro quo when he blamed the Afghan premier and the president and said, hey, if you don't do A, B, C, and D, we're going to pull your intel. We're going to pull your overall air support. Abandoning Bagram Air Base, 13 veterans dead. We know this. The fentanyl crisis, the border, inflation. We've got it. Let's hit him on that stuff because this stuff isn't going to play out. Democrats realize that too. It's too late for an impeachment. It's too late for these trials to save the day. Nothing is going to stop a Biden and Trump showdown. And honestly, I freaking love it and it needs to happen. Last thing is Hunter also made some other claims about the Republicans. He called them convicted liars and that they charged a Russian spy. Pretty contentious. We'll see what happens. But obviously, once again, I don't care. I just want to see this election play out. I want Trump to win. And I'm sick and tired of hearing Joe Biden's name. TikTok, should it be banned? Should it not be banned? Have a video to talk about that. Break it down for you, what the Senate and what the House may do, and I will tell you my opinion, whether you ask for it or not. Here it is.
Some notable opponents here from both the left and the right. Some progressive members like Mark Pocan and Pramila Jayapal opposed it. They said the process was too rushed. Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez is one of them. Others opposed it from the right, like Congressman Thomas Massey, who argued that there were First Amendment concerns. But nevertheless, a huge vote that would force TikTok's parent company to sell it or get banned. Remember, the heart of the problem here is that TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, is a Chinese-based company based in Beijing, subject to Chinese law that says if China asks the company for information, it is required to hand it over, and that information could include user data on some 150 to 170 million Americans who use it. That's a tantalizing trove of information that the Chinese government could, in theory, get its hands on if that law were to be triggered, which is why the U.S. government considers this a national security threat. So that's what the bill would do.
All right. So here's what it comes to. You heard Rand Paul come out and talk about this, and I'm all about 100% freedom of speech. But here's the thing, and there is a but to this, and I hate to say it, but a but sandwich happens to be important in this particular case, is that individual liberties are 100% protected at all costs. Given. That's what a republic is versus a democracy. Democracy focuses on mob rule and that the majority, the supermajority, will win out. Very different than what a republic is. When you sit here and say, well, TikTok has rights, first of all, it's not an American-based company because there's obviously funding and backing, and the way they're using that information is from a foreign government, a hostile foreign government. But that's not necessarily who we need to consider. You need to consider the users. But the thing is when you look at it as a collective, as 150 to 170 million people, it's easy to say, well, there's more people than the individual, therefore the large majority wins. And that's not what we do. The individual rights are paramount. And when every individual right is counted, the collective is represented. It doesn't work backwards. We have a right to privacy. And because each individual user has the right to privacy and the right to due process, and under the 4th and 5th Amendment, no company, whether it be foreign or domestic, no corporation, no government, no alphabet agency is supposed to have access to our information without due process. So what they're saying is well, the corporation and TikTok have the right to go ahead and have due process to be stripped away. Actually, no, they don't. They're not Americans. They are not a United States entity. And with what they are doing with the information, they are breaching the public's trust. They are encroaching upon the individual rights. And therefore, I stand with banning TikTok, or at least forcing them to go ahead and have representation that falls under the laws of the United States of America. I think every single business that does business here needs to fall under that. But right now, you need to set precedent. And the Republicans and Democrats, some of them are saying, let's just do this. Others are saying, let's wait and include more companies. Here's what it comes down to. Set the precedent now. And then you can start knocking down all the other dominoes and all the other pins. We need to send a very clear message to China that we are not for sale, that our information is not for sale. How many times are we going to sell our property, our rights? How much are we going to sell our debt to China? And now we're going to sell our information for private citizens. I think it's a horrible idea. And I think hopefully that the Senate will do what's right, which is get this to pass. Joe Biden has already said that he would go ahead and sign it if it hits his desk. The interesting thing, though, the closer he gets to election, he doesn't want to piss off all the 18 to 24-year-olds who use TikTok predominantly, and those people vote. He's already having a hard enough time finding votes. Will that play in the decision? I think it'll play a big part in the decision. Folks, thanks for watching the Don't Unfriend Me show. Do me a favor if you would not mind. I would appreciate it if you could like us at thedumbshow.com. It would mean the world. Also, what would also mean the world is 988, then press 1, the Veteran Crisis Hotline. If you know a veteran who needs help, 22 veterans commit suicide a day from PTSD, anxiety, and depression. They can use you to make that call. It is all anonymous, 100%. They will reach out to that veteran for you on your behalf without giving them any information as to who you are. Because let's remember, everybody needs a swim buddy, they need a battle buddy, and they need anybody to help. And that is you. Remember this number, 988, then press 1. We'll be on at 7 o'clock tonight. Can't wait to see you. I'm outie.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, Olivia, and Mike. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on the Spreely.tv network and all major social media channels at The Dumb Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.